Hello everyone. Today I have a recipe for you that will incorporate some of the tips I have. First of all, if you have migraines like I do, then you may be experiencing a toxic load. So you want to eat as cleanly as possible. That means being mindful of what your food source eats. For example, eating grass-fed beef instead of conventionally raised cattle that are fed hormones and GMO products and grains, which is highly inflammatory. Also, you want to eat from the Clean 15, which is linked in the description. And if anything is on the Dirty Dozen, you want to make sure that you get organic. So I'm going to start with the recipe. Step 1 is to preheat a large skillet and add to the dry pan 4 mushrooms, medium size, sliced. Cover and let sweat. While you're waiting, dice 1 whole white onion, medium sized. Now that the mushrooms have sweated, add about 2 tablespoons to a 1/4 cup of avocado oil, which is an anti-inflammatory oil. Then add diced onion. Toss to coat in oil and cook until translucent. You could also substitute dried minced onion to save time. Cover and reduce to low until the onions are translucent. While you're waiting, you could be dicing the celery. It's preferable to use a bamboo cutting board and a sharp knife. To save time, I leave mine whole and wash it. Another time-saving trick is to use a mandolin. It makes it easy to slice when it's all together in one big piece. And I use a plastic cutting board to catch the pieces, which is the only proper use for plastic, in my opinion. The next step is to add 1 carrot. Once the onions are translucent, you can add the ground beef. 1 pound of grass-fed ground beef. Move the onions and mushrooms to the side and add more oil if needed. Today I'm using actually 1.5 pounds of Members Mark organic ground beef, 100% grass finished, because that's what I have today. Increase your heat to medium and brown. Break up the meat and brown. While I'm waiting for the ground beef to cook with the cover, I open it periodically to turn until browned. I'm going to julienne the carrots. I changed the blade. Alternately, you could use a grater, or you could use prepackaged coleslaw mix, because we will be slicing some cabbage to add to this. I'm checking on the beef. It's time to stir. I finished julienning the carrots and I'm switching back to my slicing blade to shred the cabbage. Now that the beef is most of the way cooked, I'm going to leave the lid off until it reduces some of the moisture and browns some more and is fully cooked. Then I'm going to add some Chinese 5-spice. It's not necessary to use this brand, but you can get the individual ingredients and put them in a mortar and pestle and grind them. I prefer to use this one that has a grinder, or you can use a pre-ground kind. Just make sure that there's no preservatives or anti-caking agents. To prevent excess humidity from getting into your spices, pour your spices onto your spatula or spoon before adding to the pan. This makes it easier to evenly distribute your seasoning. I'm also going to add a generous amount of garlic, because I like my burrito I'm also adding a generous amount of garlic in granulated form. You can add whatever you have, because I like my, what is it called? I guess this is one for the blooper bin. This is FYI, I also had a traumatic brain injury some years ago, and I forget words. True life here. So, I forgot egg roll in a bowl. That's what this recipe is. So, it looks like it's still a lot of moisture, but actually, this is nice fatty beef. Fat means flavor, so I'm not going to drain it off, but that's up to your preference. Now I'm going to add the celery and carrot so that it can saute while I slice the cabbage. Just in case I'm unable to edit, I'm apologizing in advance for my forgetting words. Okay, here's my celery and carrot. I like to use the plastic cutting boards because I can fold them in half and get the veggies in the pan much easier, much less mess. Once the carrots and celery are fully incorporated, place the lid on and leave on medium until the vegetables are cooked, checking on them every minute or so and stirring. I like to shred my cabbage on the whole head. It makes it easier than having to separate the leaves and slice. You could also leave it like this and use a knife to slice it. I prefer to use the fine setting. It makes the cabbage cook much faster. I thought I would demonstrate slicing the cabbage thinly, just because I had some leaves that fell off of the whole head. I also like to add some red cabbage for extra nutrients, vitamins, and color. Once the celery and carrots are cooked to your liking, al dente, that's when you will add the cabbage. If your cabbage is not ready, then you put the stove to low, cover, or remove from heat depending on how much time you need. So now is the time you would add your prepackaged shredded cabbage, or if you decide to do your own, that's when you would put it in. If you choose to add pepper, now would be a good time. Or if you prefer, you can use cayenne if you want it spicy. You're actually going to allow the cabbage to steam on top, adding the lid, Turn the temperature gauge up to medium. And if there's not a lot of moisture from your beef, it might be a good time to add some water and start to steam. Not very much. I'm not sure if all the steam is showing, but once you really start seeing it steam, you want to check to see if the cabbage is cooked to your liking. While I was waiting for the cabbage to cook, I cleaned up a little bit and I grabbed some green onion for garnish. I'm going to stir the cabbage to combine, and I'm going to finish chopping these greens and then I'll plate it up. At this point in time, I generally add some liquid aminos or coconut aminos or soy sauce of your choice. I like to serve mine over a bed of greens. It's also good on rice or all by itself. It's very colorful, very tasty, and you add some greens as garnish. It's all finished. I added some sesame seeds because I didn't have sesame oil to add to the recipe. I will put the full recipe in the description. Please like, subscribe, and share. You never know who will enjoy this.